Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhammam sangham namasami. Dear friends, this is the regular Tuesday night program at Dhamma Darini. We are in the very last class before the beginning of the Vasa. Well, almost the last one. This Sunday, you all may be very delighted to know that my dear friend and colleague, our beloved teacher, Ayya Brahmavara, is going to be joining us. So the two of us will be together teaching you. And we are thinking about the theme of the adhitthana, the resolution or the determination, and the invitation that we've given that some of you have responded to declare some decision that you may have made to increase your practice or to be more close with the Sangha, to join us in practicing together for the 3 months of the Vasa. The Vasa is starting for us on Monday, July 22nd. Don't worry, I'll still be here next Tuesday because my Vasa adhitthana is to stay here and to continue giving the Zoom teachings and to try to study and develop this practice, especially along the theme of practicing for peace in a world on fire. Speaking of adhitthana, our resolution, sometimes we're looking for something complicated and we miss what's very simple. So usually when sitting down for meditation, one may establish the body in an upright and balanced posture and make a decision to try to hold the body still for the entire 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever long the session of meditation is, to get the body organized into a posture that's balanced and upright so that the breath is able to flow very well. So you're not having the breath blocked because of falling over and sleepiness. And so the slight curve of the spine is sort of like a spring, and one can relax and the torso stays upright as long as it's kept in balance. And the head is balanced on top of the spine and it can stay there as long as it's balanced. And the hands are placed in a position that you've chosen, perhaps on the lap, possibly with the two hands together like this, and the thumbs just slightly touching. This is a posture that's designed to increase alertness and avoid sleepiness, because if you start to fall asleep, you lose that hand position. But it's easy to maintain. And then uh, depending on how well we have learned to sit on a cushion, if that's the posture we're doing, or on a chair, letting the knees and or letting the legs be organized in a posture that's stable. So very frequently when sitting on the cushion, they recommend having a cushion so that the seat is raised up somewhat from the altitude of the feet. And so very often meditators can manage the half lotus position, where one leg is on the the next thigh, and the other leg is on the floor. That's like the half lotus. Or sometimes they can manage the full lotus, or one leg is placed on the opposite thigh, and then the other leg is lifted up on the opposite thigh like that. It takes some practice to get the joints to open up sufficiently to be able to come into the full lotus posture. But for somebody who wants to keep the body still, that is by far the most stable posture. My teacher, Bhante Gunaratana, decided to learn the full lotus posture when he was 75 years old. And he started by holding that posture for 1 minute, and then 2 minutes, then 5 minutes, then 6 minutes, then 10 minutes, and gradually, within the space of a few months, he had improved his posture even at that age, so as to be able to sit in the full lotus posture. Or sometimes a person who's not able to manage even the half lotus, they're in what's called the Burmese posture, where basically the two legs are kind of like on the floor, flat, one leg in front of the other, flat on the floor. Or sometimes they're in the kneeling posture, kneeling on a sitting bench, or kneeling and sitting on a cushion that's raised to a little bit higher level, and that kneeling posture is very good. It's not as stable as the others, but it's very symmetrical. Sometimes in the Buddhist countries, there seemed, maybe in the olden days, to be an idea that it was not polite for ladies to sit in the full lotus, the half lotus, or the Burmese posture. And so they learned to sit in what's called the relaxed posture. You know what that is? Where they're kneeling and then they sort of move over a little bit, so that the legs are like two legs are off on the side. That is a difficult posture for me, but the main thing is develop a posture and develop the ability and practice and find the right combination of cushions. And if you're using a chair, find the right, whatever amount of support that you need, so that you could come into a posture and stay still. And then while sitting still for whatever the meditation period is that you normally do, whether it's 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, 1 hour, or more than 1 hour, that you have the maximum possibility of being able to hold that posture without moving. So that is an adhitthana, that's a resolution. I resolve to be still in the body. Even if it starts to be painful, I'm going to try not to move the body. And this challenge can be very conducive in the long run to being able to develop samadhi. If you're not able to keep the body still, then when there's some discomfort, and it seems that we want to be comfortable in the body, so we shift and move a little bit. And then after a couple more minutes, we feel uncomfortable again, and we're shifting and moving a little bit. And every time the body feels uncomfortable, we're shifting and moving. And that means that we don't give ourselves the opportunity of being present and keeping the mind still, regardless of whether the body is feeling pleasant or unpleasant at any given moment. And then we make a determination about what the meditation procedure or the meditation subject is, whether it be scanning the sensations from head to toe, or whether it be mindful awareness of the breath, or whether it be arousing the thought of loving kindness. Then we have made a decision. We've made a determination. Now, my intention, say for example, is to be aware of the in-breath and the out-breath. That's an adhitthana, just for this 30 minutes. And then either one is able to keep it or not. If you can keep the awareness on the breath for 1 minute, or the amount of time of taking possibly 6 in-breaths and 6 out-breaths, then you've kept your adhitthana for 1 minute. As a result of making that decision, that determination, you have a chance to notice very clearly if the mind is not able to cooperate. Could be there's something coming up that's caused some agitation, or something that's deep within that's rising to the surface. Or some kind of external thing like a noise, or something that is impinging on the meditation, or even the changing condition of the body with different pain and meditation that can come along. So if the mind is shifting and wandering away from that meditation, you have a choice there. One is with full awareness and mindfulness to see what the mind is doing, and very gently to notice, to see fully and deeply what's going on when the mind wanders, what's happening with the feelings and perceptions and so forth when the mind wanders. And then if the mind comes back to the breath, what it's like, what's going on with the mind when we return to the breath. Shifting the body is the same as shifting the mind. If we want to shift the body, noticing what it's like without wanting. Notice what it's like without shifting. Notice what it's like to settle down and be still again. Notice what's happening if the mind wanders away, but keep coming back to that determination, that decision that we made at the beginning of the hour. If the decision was to practice with the open field of awareness, then you can say, this is my practice for this hour and how I shall practice. And then everything that's arising is allowed. Everything that's arising is there to be seen and observed with mindfulness. But if you've made the adhitthana, the decision for this time, my practice is watching the breath, then make the effort to stay with that decision. You decided at the beginning of the meditation, this is the procedure I'm following. See if you're able to make a decision and keep it. If you're able to keep it, then at the end of the session, see what that's like. And if the mind wanders a little bit, see what's that like. If the mind wanders a lot, see what that's like. In any case, you will have been given yourself an opportunity for learning and wisdom to understand yourself because you made a determination. If you just sit down and you don't have any intentions in particular, you'll never know. So this is part of the usefulness of making a resolution, making a determination. Now, I will not give you any guided meditation. I'll give you like 1 minute to decide what kind of meditation will I do for the next 30 minutes. Say for the next 40 minutes. Let go of everything else except your determination. Arrange your posture and let us sit together. So may this meditation be a merit for us. I have a few things to say about good wishes. That's the topic today. What's the skillful way of setting an adhitthana, or an intention to help us go forward in our practice? I think first I'd like to ask if there are any comments or questions about the meditation today. Did you make a decision? And then what happened? Okay, Ruranti.
Very well, thank you. So your guidance was very helpful, because usually I would start with the breath, and when the mind starts drifting, I would sort of explore the open field. Whereas today I made a determination to stay with the breath. So there occasionally mind started wandering, and at times there was like a sound of helicopter. But even while that was going, I came back to my breath. So I kind of felt like I was staying more with the breath today. So it was good. Thank you.
Thank you. Sheila.
Good evening, Ayya. I too went with your theme of staying on the breath, and I noticed less frequent lapses. And also, when I did notice I was drifting, a much more quicker response and rebound back to the breath.
Okay.
Thank you.
So that is one aspect. If one is aiming for the more relaxed kind of, well, I won't say relaxed. The open field of awareness is a very difficult kind of meditation to do. If one is aiming to welcome, to notice and observe every thought or every different sensation, every different impression, every different perception that may come up during the meditation, that openness to diversity can then be inviting proliferation, especially if we've had a busy day and the mind has been active. When a person's on a longer meditation retreat, it can be that it's very possible to have that more open sensitivity than without getting lost in proliferation, because of the overall quietness of the practice. But otherwise, on an everyday basis, if a person aims for at least aim for holding with a particular theme of meditation, inevitably the mind will wander, and you do have a chance for the mindful observation. But when it's in the context of that, making that effort to stay on a theme, to stay on the breath or stay on a meditation theme, it seems like even the mindfulness is much better than if you just are sitting down and you're not quite sure, is it going to be metta? Is it going to be breath? Is it going to be scanning the body? And you're just going to go along and whatever you feel like doing it in a particular minute, you just practice metta for a couple of minutes and then to practice breath for a couple of minutes. So then it could be that on those occasions the mindfulness is not as clear. Yeah, that's an advantage. In teaching the gradual path of training, the Buddha does not point to the final goal of the path and advise a trainee or somebody who's does not yet even have the taste of what the Dhamma is about. He doesn't advise them to seek nibbana at the very get-go. Instead, he does give a lot of like intermediate steps and stages along the way. And then having done a lot of preliminary practices, there comes that moment when the mind is stabilized, pliable, clear, and receptive, malleable. When the mind has that quality of malleability, that one is able to direct the mind towards some theme, and the mind is able to go along where it's directed. So then that's the point where the Buddha is introducing the possibility of understanding, comprehending the Four Noble Truths in whatever way that may be manifesting to one's own personal experiences. It's not that you get to, when you've done all of this preliminary work for so many days, months, or years, however long it's taken you, and then that eye-opening moment comes along. It's not that, suddenly in your meditation, this voice comes up from within and says, this is dukkha, this is the cause of dukkha, this is the cessation of dukkha, this is the path leading to the cessation of dukkha. No, it will come up in a much more personal way. That the shade falls and you just see the whole picture in a way that you've not been able to see it before. Sujata uses the metaphor of how cruel it would be if you had a guide who was showing you the way, and you were down in a swamp trying to make your way across the swamp, and the guide would point out to the summit of the mountain off in the distance. He says, well, just go there. Instead, we have to be working with where we are, what we have to cope with at the particular spot where we are. And it's the Buddha's genius as a teacher that he gave us a variety of different teachings that are suitable at different stages along the way. So if one is thinking about making a determination or a resolution, or making some kind of decision to improve or practice and to advance ourselves along this way of training, then it's very good to be honest with ourselves and to understand where we are at, what are the most common difficulties that arise from us, what are the most common afflictions that arise from us, if any, what are the most common hindrances that arise from us, if any, or if we review the suggestions that the Buddha made along the various stages of the path, we see that at the beginning of the training, the Buddha recommends listening to the Dhamma. And then, so you could do your self-assessment, say, well, do I love to listen to the Dhamma or read the Dhamma? Or actually, when it comes down to it, that I'd rather read or listen to something else. You know, I'd rather listen to the news or listen to a show or listen to some conversations with my friends or listen to music. And when the minute comes that, you know, I have a chance, I've got a few minutes and I could, I don't have to be involved in any chores or I've got, you know, an open space, an open time in the evening, then will I use that time to listen to the Dhamma, or would I rather do something else? So if that's where the challenge is, then that would be a very good place to think about making an adhitthana, make a determination. The Buddha recommended practicing mindfulness and clear comprehension. If we usually spend the day not having that mindfulness and clear comprehension, that at the end of the day, we can't even remember what happened. Or if we find ourselves getting like super involved in something and we don't even like understand how we got there, why the day went the day it went, then one may think to make that a focus. If we find that the mind is pure, that the mind is free from sensual desire, free from craving, free from sleepiness, able to have that malleable quality of setting an intention, like even an intention for the whole day, like going through this whole day, if my practice is loving kindness, will I very, very often throughout the day be reflecting and thinking about loving kindness so that becomes what is just what's arising to mind, whatever circumstances is like, oh, I have to wash the dishes. Let me wash the dishes with loving kindness. You know, I have to answer the emails. Oh, let me answer the emails with loving kindness. If that's the practice, we find that, we're able to do that. That's something that's nice, very good to notice and realize, this is where we at. So then it might be that there's something else that's sort of like the edge, what we could call the practice edge. What's the forward edge of our practice? Something that is still, we're not quite able to do that clearly, or not able to be consistent. And then, so it may be that it's time to select a resolution that's related to something that's challenging for us. And if we are trying to choose something that's related to something that's challenging, I would suggest that, well, it would be ideal if we had our own personal Dhamma teacher who knows us really well and who knows as well as we do, or even better, what our practice edge is, and that teacher would be able to remind us about where the edge is, the thing that we still need to work with, and even be challenging us to work with that aspect, which is still the thing that's a bit more challenging for us. If we don't have such a teacher immediately at hand, even you could find in the teachings in the suttas that there are different suttas that are inspiring and meaningful about that area. which is the practice edge, and then finding even one sutta like that, or finding even one recorded Dhamma talk like that, and reading that same sutta over and over again, or listening to that same Dhamma talk over and over again, finding some way to, in a pleasant way, remind us. I still have some work to do in this area. Then that could possibly be very fruitful. In the description of the indriyas, the powers, and also in the Eightfold Path, in the description of right effort, there's a refrain which I find for many, many years now, I found this refrain to be so helpful. It goes, Chandang Janeti Vayamati Viryam Arabati Chittam Paganhati Padahati. So for each one of the right efforts, the first step is Chandang Janeti. A chanda means a wish or a will or a determination, like making a decision. You wouldn't be able to do something if you didn't decide to do it. So that Chandang Janeti is arousing that decision. That's the starting point. And then the Vayamati is bringing some energy into that decision. So you could picture some, I don't know, kind of like a lazy or immature person who has a lot of like daydreams or something like that. And they are always like thinking about these projects that they're going to do and say, oh yes, I should take up farming, or oh, maybe I'll take up cooking. Maybe maybe I should run for office. And just deciding, to do this, but then they never actually do the next step of applying some energy to that wish. And so then those wishes are kind of like futile. So then after having, so a decision that then you're able to give the next boost of energy to, that's what makes it real. And then the Viryam Arabati is to stirring up virya, which is translated as energy, but virya is related to vira. So you could stir up your manly energy, your manly strength. So even if many of us in the room are identified as women, we still can find our manly strength and be really strong. So virya is always also related to the English word hero. So once we got started with our adhitthana, then can we be like a hero, really going for it and overcoming the difficulties and challenges that come along the way. So waking up the hero is the Viryam Arabati. And then the Chittam Paganhati means getting a hold of the mind. And that is related to, and especially in the right efforts, it's all about different states of mind. And so, like if you suppose that you don't want to do something, you have some kind of bad habit, like you don't want to watch stupid things on the internet, okay? So before you pushed a button and started watching that stupid thing, you had a state of mind that was willing to do that. So you got to like go back one step from the action, read backwards one step and come to understand, like, what is that state of mind? What is that mind wanting when it's going there? And so then with that, you're getting hold of the mind and working on it like a subsequent level of some kind of either a rumination and proliferation of thoughts or some kind of taking some action or some verbal speech or even self-talking, even before the self-talking starts, before the speech starts, before the action starts, before the proliferation and rumination of unskillful patterns start. There was a sort of like an initial state of mind that was there. And I'll tell you something, that even if like you're trying to overcome something that was unskillful, there's somewhere that initial state of mind is wanting something that will be good for you. You wouldn't want it if it didn't seem to be good for you. And so with a little bit of study, a little bit of analysis, say this analysis that I'm doing about watching something stupid on the internet. So it could be that you want to relax. Or it could mean that you want to like take a vacation from your problems for a few minutes. Okay, and so because of wanting to relax or because of wanting a break from your problems, then it seems to be the easy way to do it, but you know that really it's not. And it's got a lot of negative side effects, and you get back to that impulse that's coming up in the mind, which is really a good impulse, and then turn the mind. Another idea of Paganhati, getting hold of the mind, is also about lifting the mind. I always think of there's a hymn, a Christian hymn that's about lift up your hearts. I lift up your hearts to thee, so that's what I think when I say Chittang Paganhati. I think lift up your hearts. So raise up the horizon, look up, look for the higher practice that's going to fulfill that same impulse, so that it's transformed, and instead of like some kind of a at a sensual level, wanting to get away from something unpleasant or wanting to get something pleasant, realizing that simply resting in awareness is refreshing and calming and providing all the nutriments that we wanted. And so then find the cure there, because we've raised the level. So you got to know the mind. You got hold of the mind in the sense that you're able to see and recognize what's happening, and then lift up. And then the last one is Padahati, which means practicing and the pa and Padahati is like going forward, going out, going on, and Dhati is about gaining or getting. So you got to keep going. So then once you got a glimmer, you've realized something, you've had a success, then don't stop, keep going. So that's one way of thinking about making a resolution is it's that very first part of it, that chandang janeti, giving rise to a skillful desire. That's the resolution. And if the resolution then is in this bigger context, then it will work. The Buddha said, he mentioned a whole lot of things that somebody might want, a monk might want. Like, may I be liked and approved by my spiritual companions, respected and admired. And said, if somebody wants that, let them fulfill their precepts, be committed to inner serenity of the heart, not neglect meditation, be endowed with discernment, and frequent empty huts. And then, this is a monk. A monk could wish, may I get enough of my basic requisites to live? Or they might wish, when deceased family and relatives who've passed away recollect me with a confident mind, may this be a fruitful merit for them. Or they might wish, may I endure cold, heat, hunger, and thirst? May I endure all these difficulties? May I put up with physical pain? But whatever it is that they're wishing for, the Buddha's advice is always the same advice. Fulfill the precepts, be committed to inner serenity, not neglect meditation, be endowed with discernment, that's be endowed with a vipassana, and frequent empty huts, go for seclusion. So they wish, may I prevail over fear and dread. They wish, may I prevail over desire and discontent. They wish, may I obtain the four jhanas. They wish, may I realize the undefiled freedom of heart in this very life, having realized it with my own insight, due to the ending of defilements. That is, they may wish for the full goal of this practice, that for which we are following this path of training, full awakening. Whatever wish we have, it says, just do the basics. So, making an adhitthana for something that's not directly controllable by us, it can be fruitful to keep that in mind. It's sort of like those aspirations are like the thermometer or the barometer or something, that how you can tell if your practice is still going in the right direction, because your life experience is moving in the direction that is what you aspire to. But the actual work to do is sort of like dropped back a step by that. So you're doing the work to create the supporting conditions for those aspirations to materialize, and then they materialize by themselves. There's another teaching that's sort of similar to this about wishes, that is using the metaphor of the unskillful chicken and the skillful chicken. So the unskillful chicken is constantly worrying about her eggs. She's laid the eggs and they're in the nest, and she keeps like looking at them and turning them over and says, well, I hope they're going to hatch all right. Are they going to hatch or not? And sort of worrying and fussing. And so in that case, they might not, because she's not doing her job. But then the other chicken, the wise chicken, just does her job, and then she sits on the eggs and keeps them warm and keeps them safe. And then those eggs will be able to hatch. So in the same way, at each, and that training is about like the sequential, like evolution of the different things that open up and arise for us. And so what it's saying is like the next step, the thing that's your your practice edge, like the resolution of your practice edge, the thing that you know that you should do, but you actually don't quite know how to do it. You can't just make it happen with willpower. So that evolution in your personal practice is not to be achieved by willpower, by wishing and fussing and worrying about that aspiration. Instead, it's to be achieved by dropping back a step and understanding the causes and conditions, and then applying the effort to support the right combination of the causes and conditions for the practice to grow. And then, like a miracle, the transformation of one's psychology or the growth in the practice happens because it's the course of nature. It's like it's the nature of a human being, or it's the nature of a sentient being, that if the right causes and conditions are in place, then this evolution of wisdom, this evolution towards shaking off the negative and toxic habits, this evolution towards peace and freedom will happen naturally by the course of nature, not by something that was forced. And yet we still do have to make an effort. We still have to make a decision and use willpower, and arouse our heroic energy and try to make the effort, like even if we don't want to on a particular day, we're too tired or we're too busy or something else, but make the effort to keep up with the practice that we have learned and that we believe and have confidence that this practice is supporting our growth in the Dhamma. Is that clear? Do you know what to do? If anybody would like to cheer me up, they could open the chat right now and type in your resolution or your adhitthana if you want to. You don't have to if you don't want to. I know some of you have emailed us with your adhitthana. If you want to type in your adhitthana, your resolution for this vasa, right on the spot, then I shall write it out onto a bodhi leaf and pin it up on the board. I can do this. I don't have to put your name on it. I just want to put some bodhi leaves with some examples of some of the actual resolutions that some people are interested in doing. So I'm also open these next few minutes if anybody has a comment or question about what works for you or what's still difficult or confusing. Okay, I'll call on Ren.
Thank you, Ayya. Today is an unusual day for me in terms of my sit. I had one this morning and just now. It's unusual because my body it's almost like it craved to be still. It's not hard at all to be still. And in fact, it's almost a enjoyment, which is unusual for me. And during meditation, my mind, I noticed my mind wanders and I tried different techniques. I did the 4-element and I did some kind of visualization. So the mind is not as still or calm as the body. But I realized that I was able to, the fluctuation, the amplitude of the mental activity is smaller. And I think perhaps it's because my body was so calm. Maybe it had an effect. I don't know. I'm thinking it could be, but it was, yeah, I don't know if I could repeat that, but it just feels very, very nice. And I've been able to also do more abdominal breathing. And in the past, I wasn't able to sitting up because it almost felt like I couldn't take a full breath. And now for the last week or so, I was able to do abdominal sitting. So I don't know if that helped too. So maybe with the Vasa Bodhi leave, maybe my resolution is seeking calm through the body. I mean, just physical, instead of like the first chicken that's kind of fussing over. I need to calm down. I need to calm down. What should I think? How should I think to calm down? But today, I just felt like the body's helped me, and maybe that's another way.
Yeah, it certainly is a blessing when the body is able to be still, and it's a wonderful opportunity. If you are able to recall this good experience that you had today, and like what was like surrounding it, like how the day was before, or what you were intending to do, or something like that, and then see if tomorrow, if you're able to do the same thing. You may or may not be able to, but if you find that there's like some combination of things that it's possible to get the same result, and then repeat it a few times, then that's like really giving a lot of possibilities. If you know that when I wish to have this tranquility in the body, if I can set up these conditions, then I will be able to have that. That's very good. Thank you for that report. I see one aditana to stay with the breath. I see one is to focus on the breath each time craving arises in my body. I see one resolving to practice focus on the breath, remembering Ayya Sobhana saying, just notice and very gently come back to the breath. I will do this practice first thing in the morning and before bed. Then I will read a teaching from my book of the sutras. Okay, very good. So I now have my arts and crafts project to write these adhitanas on the Bodhi leaf. Our program is coming up on a Saturday evening between 5 and 7 in the evening. We chose the evening instead of the usual lunchtime program because with the weather here in California, the middle of the day can be kind of brutal, and the late afternoon can be rather pleasant. So for those who live around here, you can come out and join us for a brief program between 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock. And for those who don't come out, in the future, I will share with you through technology, I will share with you the wonderful images of some of the adhitanas that we have. We're blessed right now. We have a talented and artistic bhikkhuni. I'm going to show Venerable Dhammanusari. I'm going to bring around and show you. Hello, Dhammanusari has got a wonderful hobby of painting Bodhi leaves with Buddha images and different forms and different messages and different pictures. And so it just gives us our fun and enjoyment. And she has another talent, which is finding rocks, which are smooth pebbles, and painting Dhamma messages and Dhamma images on small rocks. So this is, I'm trying to incentivize you to come in person to the monastery if you live around here. And then when you come, you might find that you'll get a Bodhi leaf and a rock from the wonderful artwork that the Venerable has been doing. So this may be enough for tonight. I welcome all of you to keep coming back and keep on with our practice. Now we can pay respects to the Triple Gem. Araham Samma Sambuddha Bhagava Buddham Bhagavantam Abhivademi Svakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhamman Navasami Subhatipanno Bhagavato Sarvakasangho Sangham Namami. Thank you, everyone, for your good practice. Elaine, is that our last person wanting to speak that I skipped before?
I just wanted to say that I have so much gratitude that you don't leave us through Vasa. You are my nearest monastery and my teacher, so I really, really appreciate you being there all the time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you for your practice. Thank you for your patient listening, and have a wonderful evening.
Good night.
you. Sadhu,
Thank you.
sadhu, sadhu.